Hey guys, and welcome to our second panel of the night. I am your MC for tonight, Collin Farmer of the Stolen Droids. Today we have a great panel for you: pop culture and mental health. As you guys know, during 2020, we've had quite the year, and a lot of people's ways to be able to escape is to dive into pop culture and find different ways to express themselves. And so we'll be going and talking with several different panelists on that topic specifically, and then throughout the panel, you guys will see that we are supporting the American Cancer Society and trying to raise money. So far, we've raised almost $1,800, which is phenomenal. So thank you guys for your support. Please help support us and share and donate if you're able to. We really appreciate it. You can find the link down there below. Now let's go ahead and introduce our panelists. Today we have our moderator, Lindsey from Cutscenes and Cupcakes.
Hi. Happy to be here. I'm going to introduce the rest of our panelists. If you guys just want to say your podcasts or where you're from, what you do, that would be great. First up, we've got Steph.
I am Steph. I'm also in Cutscenes and Cupcakes. I'm the funny one.
I'm not sure about that.
Stifle laughter.
But I'm glad to be here. This is my first panel of the con. Yay!
Hey, Steph!
Yay!
And then next up, we've got Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica. I am with Of Dice and Dames. We stream a couple times a week where we test out different TTRPGs and play video games for fun.
Thank you, Erica. Next up, we've got Zon, as we affectionately call him.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah Zohner. I'm with Stolen Droids podcast. So yeah, I'm the funny one. No, I'm really not.
Being honest, he's the CEO of Stolen Droids Media here, and we're
I am. Yes, I'm also the CEO of Stolen Droids Media. But in all honesty, Collin does all the work. I just sit back and revel in his glory.
And next up, we've got KB.
Hey, I'm KB. I actually am a writer for The Beat, and I also have a YouTube show with a fabulous co-host called Super Lady Hero Hour, where we talk about all things superheroes.
That's awesome.
I'm going to have to binge watch that later.
Thanks.
So I'm so happy you guys all agreed to be part of this panel. It's a subject that means an enormous amount to me personally. But I kind of wanted to break in by talking about how pop culture has helped you understand the difficulties of having mental illness, or as a caretaker, understanding your role, or whatever it is. Let's talk about it. Who wants to go first? Go, just dive in.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Just because I hate silence, so I'm like, I'll think of something to say as it comes out. No,
Every panel needs an Erica.
I'm available. So when it comes to this culture, I find that the biggest thing is connectivity. No matter what mental illness that you or others may have, there is some sort of magical even ground when it comes to superheroes or pop culture in general. You happen to bring up this little thing, like you just, like maybe a small quote from like Supernatural or some sort of TV show, and everybody perks up their ears like, oh, you watch that too? I can easily talk about that. And I find it's easy to talk to more people. I have a couple of cousins who are autistic, and one of them, he likes to wear different superhero shirts, and just a couple of times it's just like, hey dude, I love your shirt, and he's just has this little smiley face. He's like, thanks. So it's that connectivity and even ground that is just so beautiful.
And so important. We actually, me and Steph and our co-host did a podcast about how video games can create that same connectivity for people who have or on the spectrum or people who have autism. And how amazing is that? You know, like I think that's what pop culture is completely for.
Well, and I think we've seen that a lot with quarantine and COVID. I think it's created connectivity when we can't be together in person, which is something that I never understood. I didn't grow up gaming. I didn't really grow up in like nerd culture. And so being able to come into it and like create friends just by liking the same thing has been something really awesome to like be a part of.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of just, I mean, this year in general, I don't know a single person who hasn't found 2020 to be challenging in some way, and who isn't struggling, you know, whether that be with depression at the very least, but with a lot of different emotions and feelings because the year has been so hard. And so you guys talk about connectivity, like relating to other people, but I've even found that something that happens with pop culture is just you being able to relate to specific characters. And so sometimes, you know, especially now during COVID, I found it like most comforting for me to kind of rewatch old shows just because it's like an easier lift and you like don't have to manage like if you really like these new characters, where's the storyline going, like you can just kind of enjoy your favorite things. And like to your point when you were like, oh, you watch Supernatural, maybe we have like a favorite quote. It's something like that where you're just like, oh, this is nice, it's so familiar. Like I loved episode 6 from season 3 because it reminded me of X, Y, and Z. So I think now specifically like during this time, it's also helpful because you have those characters, like your favorite characters that are kind of your go-tos, that also kind of help like lift spirits a bit.
You know, and to kind of build on what KB is saying, and also what Erica said, you know, there's a ability for pop culture to bring people together who wouldn't necessarily be brought together. And with the pandemic and quarantine and everything, even if it's just online, you know, like Erica said with her cousin, you know, hey, I like that shirt. You know, simple things like that make a huge world of difference for people. And if you can build on some sort of common ground there, then you may have a best friend in the making that you wouldn't have otherwise ever encountered.
I think and one specific phenomenon that was happening right towards the beginning of COVID was Animal Crossing, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's still happening.
People grabbed that game up, and it was to the point that there was someone that was commenting on Twitter about how much their tulips were. Elijah Wood randomly messaged this person who's just like, hey, can I come to your island?
They're also turnips, not tulips.
Right? He's just like walking around on this island, just talking to them, and it's just like, what? How does this even happen?
AOC is also an Animal Crosser, which makes me happy as well.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not give in to Animal Crossing. I did give in to buying a Switch, but I just didn't give in to Animal Crossing. And all my friends are like, join us.
Yeah,
Lindsey, there's islands all the time.
Addictive. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm only like 800 hours in, so
you're a newbie.
yeah.
Call me when
I've only redesigned my island 3 times. It's fine.
One of us.
I haven't even come across terraforming yet, guys. I'm so
Oh
my gosh.
best part.
It like makes the game so much better, but it also breaks you because you're just like,
It's
this is so much work.
You know, and speaking of Animal Crossing, my family, we're here in Texas. In Dallas, there's not a lot that we were able to do over the summer. And I'm not going to lie, we bought 4 Switches and I think we've got 6 copies of the game in my house.
You're a good dad.
And so, I mean, that was our family time. Every night we'd sit down and we'd play Animal Crossing and island hop to everybody's islands. And it was a lot of fun, and it helped us deal with stuff because we couldn't go outside. We couldn't go to the movies. We couldn't do anything.
Oh,
That's absolutely beautiful.
I think there's like a big stigma with pop culture stuff, like people who watch too much TV, like shame on you, or like people who play video games instead of like going out and being with real people. There's like a stigma associated with it. But I think, especially with quarantine and with COVID, you've come to find that it can fill some of those holes, and it shouldn't be like this negative thing because so many positive things have come from it.
Oh, that's
I agree.
So absolutely true. I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for like Lindsey and stuff in Red Dead, playing Red Dead together. That has been like my saving grace for socialization. It's been so nice.
And for a lot of people, that may be the only social interaction they've had for months.
Yeah,
True.
Talking to yourself does not go far.
It depends on how much you answer yourself. Really.
Luckily, I have a husband I can bounce stuff off of.
Just occasionally, though.
Yeah.
As little as possible.
Stephanie kind of mentioned some of the stigmas against, like, absorbing and consuming a lot of pop culture, but how has pop culture helped you overcome or understand stigmas against mental illness?
I think we're all mentally ill to some extent, regardless of how much you want to go out there and say your farts don't stink. They do. We've all had traumatic things in our lives. We've all had difficult times in our lives. And even if it's just you're slightly OCD and have to have all of the labels when you open up your cupboard facing the right way, and yes, there is a wrong way, or you're like freaking out about the way that the toilet paper goes, we've all got some touch of mental illness. Mm-hmm. Some people have it a lot more, but I think that through comic books especially, I was able to see that, different is okay. If you don't conform to the norm, I grew up hiding my comic book addiction, I'll call it. And I justify it because I was seen as the freak who bought comic books every Friday night after I got paid. And, but reading those comics, it helped me to understand, hey, Superman's different. Superman was adopted. I've got a brother who was adopted. He could relate to Superman. Batman is about as mentally ill and unstable as they come, but he's a freaking genius. People can relate to that. So I think that there's a lot of different ways that we can take some of these characters into our lives and apply them to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Perfect. I have nothing to add.
I was just going to say that I think, kind of over time, what we've gotten is more characters who are just more relatable, and it looks a little different. So while I won't say that like these characters are perfect by any means, I'd say we've come kind of a long way in the progression of seeing mental illness portrayed in pop culture. And like, I feel like now we're getting characters that are empathetic, and they're kind of humanizing these characters a little bit more in ways that they just didn't in the past because of those stigmas that you were talking about. And so now it's different. Like we get to see a wide range of mental illness on screen. And the way it looks, and not everyone is the same. Not everyone presents the same. Not everyone has the same anything. And so it's kind of nice to be able to see those dynamics. But I will say, kind of growing up, and then becoming an adult, and then rewatching things from when you're younger, I started to realize that we saw a little bit more in various characters than I realized. Like, I mean, for sure, like Arnold on Hey Arnold was wildly depressed. But like, I didn't know that. Like, when you're a child, you're just watching and you're like, this is my jam. I love it. But then also like you watch as an adult because it's still my jam. And I'm like, oh no, like we also should like, have Arnold talk to someone because he desperately misses his parents. That's one part of it. Like, he can't find his parents. He's depressed. Like, maybe we should look into that. So, yeah, I think like just even being older and seeing things now, I'm like, oh man, wow. Like, it's great that they had that type of representation on TV, but I really didn't know or understand until I got older.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. We got a really great comment on Facebook from Kelsey Taylor. She says, "Not gonna lie, Thor throughout the Marvel movies taught me that I can be worth something even when I get really depressed and anxious. When I'm down, I tell myself that if Thor can get back in the game, I can too." And that is just exactly what we're talking about.
That's my little sister.
Oh,
Oh,
Hey.
Sister.
Dad
know,
Thor is my favorite. I love him.
Well, and that brings it back to the Endgame panel yesterday. If people were watching, where we talked to, well, you guys did. I commented. I just commented the whole time. You guys were talking about Thor, and Collin, I think this might have been you, or it was Jake that brought up. He went through all of the things of being depressed and sad and feeling not worthy. And he goes and has this lovely conversation with his mom that I just watched again today, where she tells him, and you know, that you're not that you are a failure, but you're not failing at who you are. You're failing at who you're supposed to be. And him just reaching out for Mjolnir and waiting for it to come back to find out he's worthy was huge, because it means to other people, mental illness or not, which we just established, everybody has something. Anything or not, you're worthy no matter what. Mjolnir's always going to come to you. So I thought that was really sweet.
That is really sweet. That's just gorgeous.
yeah, that was Jake, not I. I'm not that eloquent.
I can't remember who it was.
But the Thor story arc is just so amazing, because you see this guy who's just, this cocky guy that's just like, oh yeah, I'm the strongest Avenger, right? And then you see him really start to go through all these different phases and start to become more and more humble throughout all this. And to exactly what Erica said, right? To go from those low lows to being able to find out that you're actually worthy is just,
yep. Despite all of it, you're still worthy.
Yeah, you're worthy of the people around you. You're worthy of the things that you have in life, and you're worthy of a much better life as well if you're going through certain struggles.
So we've talked a lot about how there's these characters in pop culture that we can relate to, and characters that we can see ourselves in, and that their coping mechanisms become ours and their strengths become ours. Is there a specific character that you guys relate to, and why?
Oh yeah. I'll let anybody else go first, because I feel like I'm always talking first. So if anybody else wants to go first, please take it.
I'll go first. The one that came to mind when I was writing this was the Doctor from Doctor Who. When I first got diagnosed and had some major issues and just really difficult time in life, I binge watched Doctor Who. Like, I ate it all up. And I just started realizing, like, it doesn't matter if I fail. It doesn't matter if I'm not, what I want to be or where I want to be. It matters who I'm with and that I'm doing the right thing for the right people. And like, those core values are the core values of the Doctor. And I just started to realize, like, okay, I can be happy in the present no matter what my present is,
Did you connect with a certain Doctor more than the others?
I want to say it was 10 at the time, just because I was so emotional.
Is that David Tennant?
Yeah, David Tennant. And he just is such a great actor. I just couldn't get over his performance. But I think if I had to pick a Doctor that I would be, it would be 11.
Me too.
Yeah, I can see you as an 11.
The hair and everything.
Yeah. We just need to get you a fez. right, who's
The
next?
next person for me to come to mind was Cora from Cora.
Legend of Korra?
Legend of
Yeah, from
Korra.
Legend of Korra, which I actually haven't finished. But like in the second or third episode, I turned to my husband. I said, "This is me," just because I'm generally like a pretty strong, independent person. But seeing like some of the struggles Cora went through, especially as like with spoilers, she like loses her avatar abilities, has to deal with family struggles like going into a depressed state in those stages and kind of turning away from people is something that I really relate to, which is unfortunate. That's not a good coping mechanism to like turn away from people when you're at your strong, like when you are at your worst times. But it's something to see someone overcome, to see like a strong, like kick-ass independent chick like go through all the motions, come to find that she needs her people. It's just a really endearing story. I didn't watch Avatar till this year, and I didn't know how much I needed it in my life. It was definitely like a fantastic quarantine binge. And
with the right
yes, thank you, Netflix.
So I'd say that just because the past few months have just been really challenging, kind of navigating a lot of loss and then also being stuck, at home in one place and kind of not having like a sense of normalcy. A character that I'd say I kind of relate to the most is Meredith Grey, which I've never seen Avatar, but she sounds a lot like Korra. So,
She was my other choice. So
yeah,
yes,
she sounds a lot like Korra. Like when life gets crazy, she tends to retreat, especially if Christina is not around, because Christina is, her person, the only person that can kind of help her get through life and through these things. And I will say, though, no one's life is as traumatic as Meredith Grey's. So, I feel like she has the most traumatic life in TV history. So just apart from that, just the way she copes with things, her need to always kind of have things controlled. That's crazy right now, because I just feel like, obviously this year has been the year of we have to let go, because really there's no control that we have. And so, the way Meredith kind of navigates not having a lack of control, and not being able to be surrounded by people when she really needs them. And then that one season where she was secretly pregnant and only Alex knew.
That's what I was going to say. When Derek dies and the trauma he goes through getting to Derek's death, it's really heartbreaking. But yeah, she goes away from everyone, has this kid on her own, and
this baby by herself.
Like, all right, let's get back to business.
Yeah. And then also just kind of the need, like when life is chaotic, I feel like Meredith feels the need to like push herself in her work. And I feel like that's been kind of the approach that I've been taking during the pandemic. Like I've just been like so laser focused on doing things, because it helps you kind of forget about what's going on in the outside world, but that's not necessarily the healthiest approach. And so it's like you still have to process and deal with everything else that's going on. You can't just like throw yourself into your career. But yeah, I definitely I feel like I relate to Meredith the most right now.
Man, that show's good. So I'll go. So funny enough, my dad actually just commented saying, "Hi, Captain America." And and the way he spells it is Amerika, which is how I spell my name. And obviously that's going to be who I relate to most. So if you did see the Peggy and Steve panel, I did go a little bit into it, but I want to expound a little bit more, because the more I've been watching the Captain America series and everything, the more I'm learning about myself. So it was really funny. So the other day, actually, I had been saving up for something for myself, and one of this YouTuber I watched came out with this really great charity thing for different, like planting trees, taking waste out of the ocean and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be a part of this. And so I donated what I was going to spend on myself to this. And my husband comes in, he's like, hey, what was this charge? And I'm like, oh, so I ended up spending my money on this. And I was like, I just have a bit of a hero complex. He's like, well, you did grow up with superheroes. I was like, hold on a second. And so the more that I watched the Captain America, the First Avenger, the more I realized how Captain America has literally shaped my life, because I knew I kind of mirrored myself after him on purpose. But the more I watched how selfless he was, how in Endgame, when he's talking to Tony about, there's a chance, we might as well do it. And Tony says, sometimes I miss that giddy optimism. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, that's literally me. I am the one person that's like, I'm going to be your biggest fan. I'm going to make sure everything's okay. I'm going to make sure you smile. And I've related so hard to Captain America and his need to just be there for everybody. And that's been my way of coping with my anxiety and my depression, is helping other people. So he has quite literally shaped me into the person I am. So thank you, Dad, for introducing me to the Captain America comics, because it's literally shaped the person I am today.
Oh,
That's gorgeous.
That's adorable, and I almost cried.
it was pointed out that Collin hasn't said much of anything, so I think you're up to bat.
Oh man,
that's a sport analogy for all of us, all of us nerdy people out there.
So let's go.
So I'm a huge Chuck fan.
Oh, yay!
So fantastic. Chuck Bartowski is like my main man, followed up by Morgan Grimes. Like those two together are just like best friend goals, right? And so being able to watch, Chuck grow from this insecure guy that literally just works at a dead end retail store job. Basically the Geek Squad, which I used to work for the Geek Squad back in the day. So literally my life, guys. So that's a little rough, but
am I your Morgan?
Maybe.
No. Rejected.
But yeah, so being able to just watch him go through these cycles of his older years in his life and struggling at finding who he is, and then just getting introduced to all these people that ultimately come into his life and change him for the better, and being surrounded by certain individuals that just happen to be there at the right times, right? And that's literally me from when I was going through a really, really bad divorce and moving here to Utah, and felt like my life was just crumbling down and I had nothing. And then finding those people in my life and being able to help build me up and get me to where I am today has been huge. And to be able to focus on my career and put me first for probably the first time in my life versus trying to support everyone else around me, and just kind of getting lost in all their worlds when I really needed to just have some self-care for myself.
I'm just gonna give you a hug. That was really sweet.
Thank you.
Well, I guess that's just me. I've always related a lot to Hank Hill from King of the Hill, but I think that I have a lot of the neurotic behavior of Batman, where it's not healthy. He's, because, he retreats into himself. He's brooding. And not that I'm necessarily good at brooding. I don't even think I know how to brood. But, he excludes others. He does things on his own. If something's got to be done, he goes and he does it. And it's only in the last few years where, we've really seen the emergence of the Bat family with, all of the supporting characters in his life, where he has started to welcome them in and delegate responsibility and hand off things to them and say, hey, Robin, go do this. Nightwing, go do this. For a very, very long time, it was just me. And I just kind of took that on and I just, rolled with it. And unfortunately, I think in a lot of instances, I still do that way too frequently. I just, this is on me. If it's going to be done, it's got to be done by me, or else it's not going to get done properly, or I'm going to be disappointed in the results, or whatever the case may be. That's all I have to say about that.
We got a comment from, I might slaughter this name, so please forgive me. Cassini Closet, or Cassini, maybe. I found Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy relatable more than I thought at first. I've had communication difficulties where I mishear or misunderstand what others say easily, especially metaphors. Seeing it played for humor is refreshing for some, but can there be characters that are not the greatest representations of life difficulties or mental hurdles? I'm trying to think of one. I know there are some that have bothered me.
I think Drax is a great example of that, though.
Seriously.
And Cassini brings it up. And I think that's probably one of the most prevalent, at least in recent times that I can think of, would be Drax.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder if we could throw Rocket in there with his underlying anger issues.
Yeah.
And possibly alcoholism.
Kleptomania.
I think maybe definitely alcoholism.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say about a raccoon.
Yeah.
He was just so, like, it's not quite explained yet, but like the way he was quite literally abused and tortured, and has anger and resentment towards that. So in those movies, I'm looking forward to learning more about him. In I've forgotten his name. The director.
James Gunn.
Yes, James Gunn. Thank you. Wow. Whew. For James Gunn's interpretation of him and him working through those issues, because that's something that he wants to kind of show. So I'm anxiously waiting for that.
Yeah, I feel like Rocket might be arguably the most tortured member of the team.
Quite literally.
Which he clearly has not, I mean, unpacked any of that trauma. So yeah, I think for sure we could probably add Rocket to that.
Yeah, because he tells Thor that he's looking for up Endgame again because I just watched it. It's just like, I've lost the only family I have ever had. And it's one of the very rare times that he was vulnerable to say that. And that could be really, really hard for people sometimes, is to admit vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. But it's so important too. I don't want to get all therapeutic on you guys, but I work at a treatment center, and it just comes up every single day. Like, I could have, I can be more vulnerable than I have been, and that's going to help me grow. But anyways, my personal feelings aside, is there a way that pop culture has negatively impacted your mental health?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is all of the like early 2000 TV shows. Like, I'm a big Gilmore Girl fan, Gossip Girl, all those teeny bop shows, and the way that they deal with like eating disorders and make it a butt of the joke. where you're laughing about the girl not eating her food at the restaurant while everyone else is eating, or you're talking about how these like stick thin women eat as much as they want and then body shame other bigger women for eating, or the bigger girls who are, or bigger people in general are the homely and like people that are unlovable. And I've always been a chubby girl, and that's okay. It's something I've learned to love about myself, but that's something that was really hard as a kid, knowing that I would never look like Rory Gilmore. And I'm a huge Gilmore Girls fan. I love it so much. But going back and seeing like some of the body shaming things that people talk about, it's really heartbreaking. That people felt that way, or that was something that we just accepted as like regular talk, like just bullshitting with your friends. Let's talk about the fat girl who can't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
That breaks my
I
heart.
think that's a hard part too, because there's not a lot of representation in that, right? You're always wanting to hire these, super skinny model like girls for these high roles, and where does that leave for us other people that may be a little heavier, right? Like it doesn't give us that representation that maybe we need to have in our daily lives.
Right.
It doesn't.
I was going to say, there's
positive.
actually, like recently there has been, I don't know if you guys watched Lovecraft Country.
It's on my list.
But it's really good, and it's this kind of new show on HBO that's like sci-fi horror. But basically, one of the characters is a full-figured woman, stunning, gorgeous woman who is experiencing not being hired somewhere because of her size. And there's just this wonderful, wonderful scene that actually happened this week that involves her and a love interest. And, it occurred to me and my friend while we were like going over the show and doing a live show about it, after show about it, that we had never seen really. Like, it's very rare to see full-figured women like be loved on screen in the way, and desired and pursued in that way. And it was just such a wonderful scene, and it was beautiful, and it was really stunning. But I was like, wow, like it's 2020 and I can't actually recall a moment where I've seen something like this.
I'm adding it to my list. Absolutely.
I would love to
know how. Sorry.
I mean, it's still creepy and terrifying, and also there are a lot of like.
So like people not in the norm, in the regular, are made the butt of the joke. Like even thinking about like Friends, Monica in her fat suit is made fun of, but even Monica's OCD is always the butt of the joke as well. And I get that it
actually just made a comment about that.
I know, that's what made me think of it. I get that it's funny. I get that it's a different time, but I'm grateful now that there's more representation for not just bigger women, but like mental illness, people of color. Like it's been really awesome to see more representation.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think one of the it's not really a negative in like any sort of shows, because you guys summed that up so perfectly. But sometimes in nerd culture in general, there's the you aren't nerdy enough mentality that some people have, whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, Gilmore Girls, anything, where they're like, oh well, you're not a real fan because you've never done A, B, and C. Somebody had talked about it a while ago between a friends group where it was regarding Pokemon, and somebody had said that they had expressed that their interest, they had never played Pokemon before, but they were such a huge fan of Pokemon Go. And somebody had told them, well, what are you talking about? You're not a real fan of Pokemon. You've never played Pokemon Emerald. You've never, done all of these other things. And they're like, what does that even mean? And I left myself wondering that same thing. I'm like, what does that even mean? You are a fan. If you like it, you are a fan. There is no question about it, no matter what. There are no levels of fandom. You are a fan. You will always be a fan, and that is it. So that kind of mentality always really bugged me. I'm finding that it's occurring less and less now that people are realizing their own toxic behavior And that's been really positive to see other people shutting down those comments when I come across them, where it's like, oh, hold on just a second, so that's been nice to see that change.
But girls can't like comic books.
I know, right?
Or video games. Come on.
They have to like Barbies and sorry. I'm like, that's just, ugh.
And I'm older than probably all y'all, but I remember joking with one of my friends a few years ago. We're kind of like the hipster geeks now, where it was like all of a sudden there was this huge surge where everything that we were beaten up for in school is now on sale at Hot Topic.
Yep.
And we've become mainstream. And we used to joke, we just want things to go back to how they were so that all of these kids will get off of our geek lawn. And obviously that's not how I feel, because I love being able to go into a store and actually buy a shirt that has Green Lantern on it, for example. But there's a lot of people who legitimately feel that way, where this was my territory, this was my culture, you've co-opted it, go away.
Nerd culture is the one thing that everybody can do. Like, no matter what, if you're a DC fan, you're a Marvel fan, you can coexist.
Yes.
Like,
sometimes.
I was gonna mention, your guys' podcast from earlier, but we won't.
Well, and everybody's a nerd about something.
Yeah.
Even the jocks, they're nerds about sports. I mean, come on. We're all nerds. Yeah. We're all geeks.
It was brought to light to me because so many people tease people about watching streaming, but football is just streaming live sporting events. Come on.
It's all on the
people for what they like.
Yeah, it's all on the same level. I love that. Everyone's a nerd about something. That's perfect.
Yeah, because it's true. Like, you're either a book nerd or sports nerd or, like a comic nerd or a gaming nerd. Like, I like that a lot. It's true.
Yeah, that's my motto in life now. Everyone's a nerd about something. This is going to my Twitter bio.
Yeah.
to go
Put it on a t-shirt.
To go back to what Zohner was saying earlier about, the difference between now and 20, 30 years ago, right? And I mean I can literally go and talk to someone who used to be a very jock type person, like your very, very stereotypical guy that used to rag on me in high school, and now we've talked, we've made amends. And we nerd out about different things in the Marvel universe. So it's crazy to be able to to see those differences when all of a sudden something clicks, and all of a sudden, because of things like Iron Man and in that one movie that just started bringing up pop culture to where it is today, to help you feel inclusive, right? We go through the same typical things in Hollywood too. Hollywood has those very stereotypical issues. I mean, Jonah Hill, for instance, he was always typecast and stuck in the same type of roles, because he was a bigger guy. He was the guy that people could make fun of, people could poke at. He was the joke of every single movie that he was in. And it got to a point where it started having this huge mental toll on him. And finally he was like, okay, I need to break out of this. Like, Channing, how do I do this? How do I cope with this? And Channing, being the amazing friend that he is to Jonah, helped him overcome several things, and now he's being taken more and more seriously within Hollywood.
I think we watched the same video about that because it talked about him and Emma Stone, and then being just like best friends. I'm like, That was a great video
Yeah.
of him just being like, you know what, screw everybody.
Oh yeah. It
It's
was
fantastic.
it was an amazing video. I'll have to try to find it and share it on the Facebook page.
Yeah, it was
That's
really good.
fantastic.
Well, and Collin, going back to your comment that you can go up to the jock or whomever and start talking about any of these pop culture or geek topics. You know, I was walking through the grocery store one night, and this black dude, probably 6'10", obviously a basketball player. He was decked out in basketball gear. I was wearing an X-Men shirt. He stopped me and said, "Hey, what do you think about the casting rumors that Denzel is going to play Magneto?"
Oh, I hadn't heard that one.
And I said, "I hadn't heard that." That was my exact response, Erica. And he said, "You know, I don't think we need it. We already got him as his character. He was Malcolm X, same character, different role." And I thought, wow, that is a really profound way to look at that. I had never seen Magneto as the Malcolm X character or Charles Xavier as the Martin Luther King Jr. character. I had never seen with that perspective. And this dude comes to me out of nowhere and gives me this completely different view on things just because I was wearing an X-Men shirt. And it blew me away.
Yeah, they actually said when they created the comics that they fashioned, you know, those two characters after Martin and Malcolm. So
I know that now.
Yeah. Yeah, they were created with them in mind. And so, yeah, it's really awesome that he saw your shirt and he was like, so, because I had not heard that Denzel rumor actually at all, ever. But
I'm gonna pull up some Google stuff for later.
I'm like, would this be now that, you know, the X-Men are back home and they're going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Denzel? Like, what are we talking here?
This happened within the last 6 months. So,
okay. So, yeah, that's what he means then. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that brings up a really good point, though, that the more you learn about topics, the more interesting it becomes and the more that you can gain from other people. Like even I've done that with sporting stuff with my cousins, so I can relate to them. I did that. I didn't grow up nerdy. All my friends did, which is how I started gaming and then doing a gaming podcast that was never on like my bucket list. But the more you learn about it, the more you learn about how things are made, why things are made, the history behind it, the more interesting it can become and the more meaningful it can become to you. Because it's not like Superman is created in a vacuum. He was created for reasons. And it brings it all to life a little bit more. And helps you relate to people more.
It's true. I was watching this girl's live stream earlier today. She was playing one of the DLCs for BioShock. And she's from Ireland. And so she's got this beautiful Irish accent. And she goes into like this kind of cool, like almost like New Yorker accent, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she sounds exactly like Harley Quinn. So I commented, I was like, oh my gosh, that dude, you need to voice Harley Quinn. And so she goes off on these cool facts that she knew about Harley Quinn that I had never known, and I was just sitting there like, this is so cool. And I'm like if I hadn't have brought that up just on a whim, I wouldn't have learned the cool things that I did. Same with Zohner and his experience. He wouldn't have experienced that if he wasn't wearing his X-Men shirt. And like those fun little factoids are the things that make you obviously really excited.
I think it all comes back to like Erica's first answer of the first question. It's about that like connectivity that pop culture creates. Things that we can relate to, things that we can talk to each other about. The fact that we're getting comments you know, in the stream of just like people saying, oh, like I relate to this character. Oh, I'm the Hulk. Well, look at me. I'm this person, you know, and like, I think that's amazing. Like, I absolutely love seeing that because that's what like makes me want to be a nerd is like, well, not only because it's amazing and because I'm learning all this amazing stuff from, you know, consuming media, but also because it gives me something that I can be passionate about and talk to other people about and connect with other people about.
Okay,
yeah,
so
someone mentioned Barry Allen in the comments, and I was like, yes, and how he manages his trauma, and you know, still has a good heart, still tries to do the right thing, and I was like, yes, he is my favorite This Barry Allen, Grant Gustin is my favorite TV version. So yes,
Hey, this is my dad.
Yes, yes, Erica's dad.
Erica's family, man.
I'm so happy.
Oh, right.
I love Barry Allen, so yes.
Yes, it's absolutely true. And it was funny because Marley comments and says mutant and proud. And I'll tell you, this is like my little secret that I really haven't told anyone, but like everybody loves mutants. You know, they've got their superpowers. They're so cool. And it sucks that the world that they live in is really just like, mutants, you're terrible. You need to be fixed. And I always had, I'm like getting all anxious. I was like, I've always had this idea, people with mental illnesses are the mutants of our world. They are extremely special. They don't need to be fixed. They have their special abilities, no matter what it is. So to me, mutant and proud to me really is who we are. We are mutant and proud because we have these differences that make us special. So I'm glad you brought that up, Marley, because I was considering talking about that earlier. So I'm glad you did.
That analogy fits really well because the mutants are really loved as long as they're doing good things. They're doing the normal thing. When they start going off the rails is when people want to take away their mutantness.
And that's when they loved more.
Well, I think that can be with mental illness, when you go into an episode, a depressive state, when you're having a panic attack, that's when you're worried about being loved or that someone's going to turn away from you.
Yep.
And I think that like you're saying, that's when people need to be loved the most. And I think that, I mean, I don't know, you need to be loved. You need to have those, everyone's going to go through those experiences, especially people with mental illness. So I just think it's a good analogy, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it is a hard thing. I don't think anyone can take away that mental illness is hard and can be very scary.
Yep.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, and you know my body, when I get stressed, when I get nervous, my body randomly twitches, and so I'm sure you guys can occasionally notice like my shoulder will twitch or my neck.
I've never noticed.
Move. Oh, really?
Ever.
I really one day was like, Collin, why are you twitching? Let me tell you.
It's his superpower.
But yeah, in elementary school, it was super bad to the point where, you know, I would be stomping in the middle of class or I would have to pound my fist on my desk, and it wasn't something I could control. Right. It was just something that happened. And, you know, there were very few people that understood. And I remember this one day, it was after I had talked a couple years ago in one of my classes about my Tourette's, and then a couple years later in middle school, you know, I was in the middle of the lunch line, my Tourette's were going off, and this kid just came up to me and just punched me in the stomach just because I was twitching and I was annoying him. And so I just fell to the ground, and these two girls that were in my elementary school class knew exactly what was going on and came over and defended me. And I was just like, wow, like the impacts that people can have at just the right times, and just based off of, you know, not even knowing a person and just judging them because of those things. It just it can really shake you up and really can help define you. And those people, I'm so grateful that we have, you know, friends and advocates in the world to be able to help us through those difficult times.
It really got me, man. I'm so grateful for those girls. Everybody could probably see my visible anger, like, argh!
Yeah, no, I was like sinking down, and then I got happy, and then I was like, that was a good story, Collin.
It was, because I was not expecting it to take that turn, and then I became very mad at that kid.
Yeah.
I love those people of the world who are like, it's okay. I know what you're going through. I'm going to protect you.
Yes, I love that those two little girls stepped in.
The world needs more of that.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Commenters, audience, if you guys have any questions for us, now's the time. We're going to be wrapping up here in a little bit. So if you had anything you wanted to talk about or bring up, please put it in the comments. In the meantime, I thought we would talk about just one piece of advice, one quote, whatever it is, something you can leave with our audience that you've learned from pop culture or from having a mental illness or whatever it is. Mine is it's manageable. And I just have to remind myself that all the time. There's things that come up in life and it's going to make you feel like and the nature of my mental illness and things like that is that it makes me feel, oh, I can't do this. It's always going to be this way. I'm stuck forever in the misery, and I just want people to know it is manageable. It is doable. You just have to keep seeking happiness. So always seek happiness, always believe that it's manageable and find a way because there is a way.
Yeah, I'd love to piggyback on that. I have a condition called derealization where my brain came to a point that it got stuck in fight or flight. So if you've ever woken up and you're just like, oh, I feel like I'm in a dream. I need to just go back to bed and sleep it off. For me, my brain got kind of stuck in that point to where I feel like I'm in a dream all the time. So I want to echo off of that there. I'm going to try not to get emotional. But
it's okay if you do.
It's okay to get emotional. That it really is true. You will have really hard days. You will. They are guaranteed. But also your positive days are also guaranteed. It's never going to end. You're going to have highs and lows just like everybody else. Everybody else has their highs and lows. You're just experiencing yours in a very personal, different way. And that's going to lead me back to the initial Thor comment from Jake earlier. You're always worthy, no matter if you feel like you are or not. You are always loved, whether you feel it or not.
I recently had a miscarriage, actually, and that's one of the days that I had Last of Us 2, and I just played for like 5 or 6 hours. And that is one of the days that I definitely like turned into myself. I don't I'm very independent. So I guess my advice would be like check in on your strong friends that seem to have it put together, but don't always do. And honestly, like I have wonderful friends and they are great. And we all the time in group chats, we just like, how are you? How's your day going? So just check in on your friends because I don't know. I'm trying not to get emotional too.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Even your strong friends have hard days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay to lean on your support network. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. And if you are that strong friend, do remember that it's okay to lean on your support people. Your burdens are not burdensome, especially when you're going through trauma. So
don't apologize. I know I have a hard time with that because I am that strong friend. And I know when I come to people and I say like, hey, I'm having a hard time, I'm constantly apologizing because I feel like I'm being a burden when really you're not.
Right.
You're not being a burden. Everybody has those times. Steph, I want to give you a hug too.
I want to have a group hug. Gosh dang.
I know.
Yes.
It's hard. It's hard to do one here.
I know, right?
There's a quote from Chadwick Boseman.
Here come the tears.
Yeah.
I know. He said, "The purpose is the essential element of you." It is the reason you are on this planet at this particular time in history. Your existence is wrapped in the things you are here to fulfill. You're here for a reason. There are people that can benefit from you, and that you can benefit from them. And there are so many different things that you've yet to experience in this life, that you will. And I'm so grateful to be surrounded by you guys on this panel, and to be able to hear all of your opinions, and to relate and cry with you guys. This is just such an important topic, and just know that there are people out there that are here for you, even if it doesn't seem like it. There's someone out here looking for you.
Thank you,
I think
Collin.
some advice I would give, honestly, is just to be kind to everyone. I mean, every single person is managing some sort of trauma, is trying to make it through, is handling some sort of issue. And, I just feel like if we could all be kind to each other and give each other grace, that is like the start of a really amazing thing. And then just for ourselves, if we could give ourselves grace, because I feel like a lot of times we're our harshest critics and we're so hard on ourselves about, being certain ways or having things all together. And it's okay, like Lindsey said a bunch of times, like it's okay to be emotional. Like it is okay to have these feelings. It's okay to lean on other people. I think sometimes we just don't allow ourselves the grace that we extend to other people. And so we just have to be kind with ourselves as well, because, we're just doing the best that we can.
Oh, that's beautiful. Give yourself grace.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and you need to be forgiving.
Papa Fry coming in and just touching the
My mom says I'm awesome.
Thanks, Mom.
That's all you need, right? You just need your mom, right?
Yeah. I don't know that I can really add anything to what's already been said here. The comments about grace, comments about being kind, all of the different comments that each of you have made here. I can't really add to any of that, but Steph keeps referring to sports. So I thought I would, as you guys have been talking here, I had this quote come to mind, and it's from Balboa, which is, I think, and this is one of the greatest quotes of all time. Forget about the fact that it's in a boxing movie, but Rocky is talking with his son, and he says, "Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done." And yeah, in this context, he's referring to sports, to boxing specifically, but it's true. It is about life. Life is going to kick you in the nuts repeatedly. And if you can just
Even
take
if you don't
that,
have nuts.
it's going to throat punch you repeatedly. How's that? Life's going to beat you down. And no matter what, it's going to keep coming at you. You can take a few options, and end it, or you can keep moving forward. And you got to keep moving forward. Always keep moving forward, because you're going to get beat down. My mom has stage 4 cancer right now. She's been dealing with this for a while. It's in her lungs. It's in her liver. It's in her bones. She's going to die from it. And she called me up one day and she said, "I can't do this." And I told her, I actually sent her this quote. And I told her, think about all of the people that you impact, all of the people who look at you and see you as an example. Yeah, you're struggling. But even when we're at our lowest, somebody is still looking to us as an example. Somebody is still trying to emulate our behavior, regardless of what we think of ourselves. And so just keep going. Give yourself grace. Give others grace. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Be kind. All the things that have been spoken of. Just keep going and doing those things. And it's eventually going to come to an end, and you're going to be better off for it.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna cry now.
Sorry, I wasn't
In a good way.
John's on that. This came up, and I thought that was
Hilarious.
Yeah, Zane, you're awesome.
Looks like we do have one question, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start wrapping this up.
Okay.
From Alex Alley, can you pick one lesson you learn from a fictional character?
I'm going to go with that quote I just read.
Yeah.
From Rocky for me, because that right there influences my life on a near daily basis. And I mean, some of you know what I've dealt with the last few years. Yeah, that's just keep taking those punches and getting through it. That's, I mean, Rocky, I think, is one of the greatest examples of perseverance, of determination. I mean, he said every champion was once a contender who refused to give up. Just don't give up. Just keep going, and you'll eventually become a champion.
I have a quote. I'm looking for it.
I'm going to go with a Harry Potter quote, because Harry Potter was probably one of the first books that was really like important to me. So its happiness can be found even in the darkest of times when one only remembers to turn on the light, which is Dumbledore, of course. And I think that especially right now, especially what's going on with the world, we just have to remember, like, things like pop culture, things are like our friends, things like helping others are what's going to be turning on the lights for us, what's going to be helping us find happiness when things are pretty shitty and bleak. So yeah, Harry Potter, like, he had a rough life and he came out doing pretty good. So yeah.
I'm going to go with a quote from Iris West Allen that says, "For every bad memory, there is a good one that will get you through it."
Oh.
And so, yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think Iris West Allen always has some sage words of wisdom for her husband and everyone on Team Flash. But I think it's true, you know, like their life is hard, you know, as you just said, but we have to think of the positive, and those positives will help push us and get us through those difficult and challenging times. So, you know, the more we think of it, we take those good memories and we hold on to them, and hopefully they help us through some of our darkest days.
So I hope it's okay. I have two. I couldn't decide between the two. One of them is actually from the 11th Doctor, where he says, "Every life is a pile of good things and bad things. The good things don't always often." Oh, that did not go well. Hang on, somebody did words wrong. The way I see it, every life is a pile of good things and bad things. The good things don't always soften the bad things, but vice versa. The bad things don't necessarily spoil the good things and make them unimportant. And that's really important, I believe, in today's world where with the internet and comments, you can have a ton of really good feedback, and then there's that one person who says something negative. And to remember that the voices for good are louder than the voices that are bad. And then this is a quote from Iron Man that I really liked. It's not about how much we've lost, it's about how much we have left. So that we we do go through a lot of loss in our lives, no matter what it is. Some of the things that we've talked about that have been extremely personal are losses, but we also need to remember the things that we have left and all of the good things that we still have. So that's something I always try to remember is I've lost some things, but I've also gained a lot of really good things in my life.
Love that.
I'm
Steph,
doing,
don't worry, someone is wearing a shirt with that quote on it.
Yay!
And she also gave hers of just keep swimming.
I love Dory.
Perfect. Love that.
I'm doing one that I thought Erica was gonna do.
It might be one of the other ones I thought about doing.
Yeah. I'm not gonna read the full quote, but Samwise Gamgee. There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for.
That was my other one. I'm so glad you did it because I was like, I can't do a third, so I'm just gonna pick something different.
Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this panel and sharing your thoughts and feelings with everyone. I know it's truly made a difference in not only our lives as panelists, but in the lives of the many around us. And as you can see in the comments, the love and support that even our family can give. Good old Papa Fry. And so thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. We do have a raffle, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me just pop open the prizes here so everyone
It's a really good prize tonight.
Oh,
I really wanted that.
It also includes a gift card for a massage.
Oh,
Ooh,
game
Guys,
changer.
by the one and only Steph Lisman here.
she's magic. I'm
She's
telling
really
you.
good at what she does.
If you lived closer to me, I'd see you every day.
I know.
I still need to book my appointment for next week.
Yeah. Post-convention massage.
So think let's see here. And now for the winner, let me pop that up here. Get this random name generator going. Can I get a drum roll, please? All right. And, oh, hey, Erica Startup.
No way!
She won contest too.
Congratulations. You won a massage and some adorable fan art.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Well, thank you guys so much again. Really enjoyed having you guys here with us. We look forward to the mini panels that you guys will be a part of for the rest of this. I know KB is going to be part of our Watchmen panel, I believe, on Saturday.
Yes.
So
on Saturday.
Look forward to that. I can't remember what panels the rest of y'all are in. We have a lot of panels. It's
Rise of the Skywalker show.
Rise of the Skywalker panel.
I'm excited for that one.
Not to mention the two other ones you're on tomorrow, Lindsey.
I'm busy tomorrow. I took the day off of work.
Busy day.
A busy day.
Thanks for the overtime. I'm glad we got to chat.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was great to even go over on this panel. Jake has already told me that I'm not allowed to do that on tomorrow's panels.
Okay.
I'm in tomorrow, so I'm in charge.
When you're the last panel of the day, though,
Steph, do you want to announce
what are you up against?
Panel?
Yes, so we have a surprise panel tomorrow that I'm so excited for. We had just been blown away by so many people's generosity, so many people tuning in that we were like, let's just throw something else into our crazy week. So tomorrow, September 9th, 9/9, we are going to do a Brooklyn 9/9 panel at 9. So I'm really stoked about that. It should be fantastic. we have a great lineup tomorrow. Honestly, we have Badass Female Video Game Characters 7 p.m. Collin's Rise of the Skywalker panel 8 p.m. Brooklyn Nine-Nine panel at 9 p.m. So just
Awesome.
like clear your schedule, put on some like comfy clothes, and get some Taco Bell, and you're good to. You're like set.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be amazing, guys.
The
Save
only-
the Taco Bell for the last panel, though, so you don't miss anything.
Thank
right,
you guys
so
too
much. Have
for
a wonderful
sharing.
night.
I just wanted to say thanks for sharing because I know it's not
Give your-
always easy, but thank you so much. Yeah,
I want to just throw this comment too, because I think it is important we talk about these types of things.
absolutely.
And that everyone was open and vulnerable on this panel. So it was great.
Of course.
the
And
two
thank you,
takeaways-
Kelsey, as well, for sharing everything that you shared with us today.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So there's two takeaways. Give yourself grace, and everyone is a nerd about something.
Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
All right. Well, let's
Thank
nerd out,
you.
guys. All right. We'll see you
3,000.
later.